Okay, you guys joined me at a 1995 Volvo 940 non-turbo sedan. This is the engine bay. What we're going to talk about here today is the Pulseair system. It's basically a system that, from my understanding, siphoned off some air from the intake box right here at this tube here. Would go along this hose up here into a check valve that then connected to these little, I guess, Pulseair valves, which they don't make anymore, and directly into the exhaust here, which then the idea was to burn off some excess emissions down at the cat down there. So really all this does is, if it gets clogged up or if one of these little valves isn't working properly, basically it's going to cause some idling issues, which I've been chasing for like a year, because really I couldn't find anything online about the Pulseair system. My understanding is that they only had it on a few models for a couple of years towards the end of the 940 production run. If you have a turbo model, obviously you don't have Pulseair because you have a turbo, which cycles some of the exhaust air back into the intake through the intercooler and things like that, so you don't need it. So this is only for non-turbo models, only for years 94 and 95 from my understanding. So this was a pretty rare system, not used for a lot. But I got some info from a Reddit user on the subreddit Mechanic Advice. Really awesome guy. Basically what he told me is just go to Home Depot, get two of these half-inch black iron pipe ends, screw them on. They screw on. They're a perfect fit for these pipes here. And just tighten them up. I used, some channel locks and just tightened them up, make sure they were tight. Took everything off, and the result was instantaneous. I mean, the idle is fine now. The car seems to have lost a lot of weight. It's definitely more responsive now because it's getting all of the air into the intake like every other normal car, instead of having some of it siphoned off. So what we're going to do now is I got this can of basically expandable foam sealant from Home Depot. This thing is great stuff, gaps and cracks insulating foam sealant. It was $3.78. These two caps I think were 83 cents each, so it's definitely a lot cheaper than the idle air control valve, the fuel pressure regulator, the spark plugs, the spark plug wires, the cap, the rotor, all of the stuff that I've tried to replace over the year, just trying to get this idle better, which, and I'm sure I needed to do that anyway, but, definitely fired up the parts cannon for that thing, just because I couldn't find anything online about the Pulseair system. So this, I hope, helps somebody at some level. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna seal this thing up. I've been shaking this thing for a while now. We're gonna seal up that little hole so that no air gets in there, because this air hole here that went to that hose is up past the air filter, so I don't want to get anything in the notorious mass air sensor right there. So I'm gonna fill this up, and we're gonna see how it goes. Okay, so this stuff definitely is in there now. It's a good kind of shot of it. That's what it looks like in the backside. Of course, you don't have to do this. You could get, I'm sure, from a junkyard, you could get a non-Pulseair airbox top if you wanted to keep things as good as they could possibly look. I don't really care. This is kind of a just a very cheap option for you, and that way you don't have to go spend more money on it, which I've definitely spent more money on this than I intended. But all in, you know, this is a really cheap option. Like I said, those pipe cap plugs are 83 cents each. This whole can of foam sealant, expandable foam sealant, was $3.78, which I definitely don't need any more of that. So that's gonna stay at my house for forever. But yeah, we're gonna put this all together. I'm gonna start it up and show you, you know, how it runs now. All right, so you join me now, several hours after I put this all back together. This is now mostly hard, and I can trim that up and make it look a little better. So now I'm just going to start the car, and you guys can hear, you know, how well it works. Let's see. I'm not used to filming and driving at the same time, which I'm not going to do. Just gonna start the car. But you see, rock steady, idle, no check engine light or anything like that. You know, works fine. You know, doing good. That seems to be holding fine. So yeah. Basically, you know, I'd like to say, you know, really a thank you to that subreddit Mechanic Advice, because you know, really helpful people, and you know, they don't make you feel like shit for not knowing everything about the car like some other places do. Oh, one more thing. So this was on the check valve. This is like a little diagnostic vacuum line that plugs in up here. This is the diagnostic box. So I think I'm just going to leave that. The whole reason why I'm going to leave and keep all of the bits that were on the Pulseair thing is in my state, I'm in Virginia, but the car is, you know, 25 years old at this point, so I'm not, I don't have to do emissions to re-register the car, but in case I sell it to somebody who lives in, you know, a different state and they do have to do it, you know, I don't know what the rules are in Maryland or DC or anything, but yeah, that way it can all go back to how it was, and you know, somebody else can deal with that at that point. But yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. It's real simple. The valves that were on here are real easy to get off. Basically, there's, you know, you just get a crescent wrench down here, and I was expecting a fight, honestly, because, you know, there is some rust up here, but it really wasn't too bad at all. It's just, you know, a little bit tighter than hand tight, and they just come right off. But yeah, thank you. All right, bye.